Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a review on the new Anastasia Beverly Hills Amrezy palette. I'm also going to be doing a tutorial on my makeup today using this palette. I'm going to be comparing it to the Norvina palette, and I also have a couple other Anastasia palettes as well to compare the shades to, let you guys know my thoughts about this palette, how similar it is to other Anastasia palettes, and how I did my makeup today. So if you guys want to know everything about the new Amrezy palette, then just keep on watching. Alright, so the Anastasia Amrezy palette is Anastasia's first launch of 2020. I was very excited when I saw this palette being announced. Also, Norvina did say on Twitter that Anastasia isn't going to have a ton of palettes come out this year. I think their next one is going to be towards the end of the year. So I really wanted to get this palette because I didn't want to miss out, and I'm hoping it's not limited edition. I really hope it sticks around because I think this was an awesome release. Amrezy did do a collab with Anastasia 2 years ago on this little highlighter, which I absolutely still love, but this was limited edition, and then they had another limited edition eyeshadow palette about 5 years ago. It was a lot smaller palette, a lot more of a simple palette, but this one is very interesting, very exciting. I really like the shades in here. This is actually larger than the other Anastasia palettes. The rest of them have 14 shades. They're a little smaller. This one has 16 shades in here. This one's a little pricier too. This retails for $49, and the rest of them retail for about $42. So in here we have 16 shades. 2 of them are glitters. The glitter shades are Gemini and Liddy. They're actually kind of like similar shades. We have like a more of like an olivey bronzy shade, and then more of a bronzy shade with an orange hint to it. And then we have 7-ish mattes, really 6 mattes in this like satin shade that's basically a matte, and then 7 metallic and shimmer shadows. And also this palette is now available on Sephora.com and in stores at Sephora. Alright, so I just brought you guys in closer to get into some shade comparisons with the Norvina palette. That's the palette that this Amrezy palette reminded me of the most when I first saw it, just because it has a lot of warm tones and then like pink and purple shades, if I could fit this in here. So there are quite a few similarities. I will just show you guys just a close-up of what this looks like compared to some other Anastasia palettes that might seem a little bit similar as well. So I was also thinking that it was kind of similar to Soft Glam, but when you really look at both of them, Soft Glam over here is a lot more muted, has a lot more neutrals than Amrezy. But really in Soft Glam, there's like a couple pink and purple shades, but these are a lot more neutral. They're not like a pop of purple, a pop of pink. They really show up very neutral on the eye compared to the pink and purple shades in the Amrezy palette. You might get like one warm brown, but that's not anything to really compare in the two. You're gonna get that in basically all Anastasia palettes. All right, so next up we have the Riviera palette that came out last summer. I was seeing a lot of comparisons when this palette was announced, when the Amrezy palette was announced. I was seeing a lot of comparisons in the comments to the Riviera palette, and I think it's mostly just because there's a blue and there's a pink and there's some purpley tones. But if you look at the purples, the ones in Riviera, they're a little bit more periwinkle, and these are like true, more like warm tone purple shades. And there are similarities between the pink and the blue. I'll go ahead and show you guys. On this side are the pink and the blue shade in the Riviera palette, and then on this side we have the pink and the blue shade in the Amrezy palette. So those are both like very standout shades in both palettes, but other than that, you're really not getting a lot of overlap between both palettes. Yeah, that's basically kind of it. You're gonna get a lot more colorful matte shades in here, and then you get a lot more neutral matte shades in the Amrezy palette. But let's go ahead get into Norvina, because these are pretty similar. If you look at the purples and the pinks in here, some of the bronzy shades, a lot of the lighter tones, and then a lot of the transition shades are very similar. So I'll go ahead and show you guys the similarities in both. Between both palettes, we have 6 similarities. On this side is the Norvina palette, and then on this side is the Amrezy palette. Let me go ahead and wipe this off because that is throwing me off a little bit. Too many swatch comparisons, but let me show you guys the comparisons in both. Up here, we have the shade Base in Norvina and then Wasted in Amrezy. Very similar light shades in both palettes. The one in Amrezy is a little bit more pink. Wild Child in Norvina and then Anastasia in Amrezy. The one in Anastasia has a more of like a peachy hint to it, but on the eye, they're gonna end up very similar to what I have like mostly in my, on my lid. And then we have the two purple shades in both palettes. This one is Celestial and then Cupcake from Amrezy. That's what I have in my outer corner today. Those are super, super similar. Then we have Dazzling and Gorgina. These are the like more bronzy brown tones. Dreamer and Barb, the two lighter shades. Barb's a bit more of like a pinkish purple shade and Dreamer's a little bit more of like a champagne color, but another shade that if you put it on your lid, it's gonna look really similar. And then lastly, we have two matte brown shades, which are gonna be pretty similar in most palettes, but I just wanted to point it out. We have the shade Electric from Norvina, and then in Amrezy, we have the shade New Yorkers. So those are the 6 shade comparisons. It's basically almost half the palette that is similar, especially when you get into some of these shimmer shades, like these pinky, purple, and bronzy tones. That is gonna be really similar in both palettes. So I do think you get very similar looks from both palettes for sure. So this is definitely like a fusion of all 3 of those palettes to me. And I have no problem with that because I love those palettes. I use Riviera the least because it's so colorful that I have to be committed to doing a colorful look, or I just want to like take one of these lid colors and mix them in with Soft Glam or Norvina. I never really use Riviera on its own, but this has very similar like pops of colors like Riviera. It has those deeper brown shades and deeper transition shades like Soft Glam, and then you have all those lighter springtime pink and purple shades like the Norvina palette, those bronzy shades like the Norvina palette as well. It's definitely a bit of a mix of everything, but for sure the palette that it's the most similar to is the Norvina palette, and I'm totally okay with that because I love the Norvina palette, but I wanted to show you guys some similarities in case you do have those other palettes. I think if you're like me and you have Riviera, Norvina, and Soft Glam, you basically already have the Amrezy palette. But of course, there's only so many shadows you can get into one eyeshadow palette without it being redundant with some other eyeshadow palette. So it's not a big deal to me, but in case you guys are debating whether or not you want to buy this and you have all this, you already got this basically. But that's gonna be everything for all of the swatches and comparisons. Let's get into the tutorial so you guys can see how I did my eye makeup today using the Amrezy palette. All right, so I'm gonna start off with this matte transition shade, and then I'm gonna go into a lot of color, but this is more of like an orangey brown. I really like the mix between a lot of colorful lid shades in this palette and then a lot of warm like brown, just more neutral matte colors. I love like a warm, obviously I always do like a warm brown crease, but I love that with like blues and greens and purples. I tend to just try to do more so color on my lid. I'm gonna try to incorporate a couple different of the colorful shimmer shades for this look. And I kind of want it to look like Trix Yogurt, like cotton candy-esque. So I'm gonna take this matte purple shade and I'm gonna build that up in my outer corner. I do want to do a lot of purple in this look, and I love the combination of warm brown and like a purple or a burgundy shade as well. It kind of reminds me of the shades of the Queen of Hearts palette from Colored Rain. That's when I really got into warm tones, oranges and purples mixed together. It's gonna look a little intense, but I'm just gonna leave that packed on for now since I am gonna go over it with a shimmer shade. I just want to get that intensity to start off and really get the purple to pop. So I'm gonna go in with a Morphe M124 and Smashbox Primer Water because I'm just trying to use this up. I prefer MAC Fix Plus for spraying my brush. I always feel like that always makes the eyeshadows look the most metallic, but I have so many setting sprays, like all of that is setting spray that I need to use up before I let myself buy a new MAC Fix Plus. But I'm gonna take this shade, actually let's go in with Anastasia, this shade right here. And then I also want to take Cupcake in my outer corner, but I want to start with Anastasia. I'm going to put this in the inner third of my eye. A little bit more of a peachy champagne, like a pink champagne shade. But I like that there are some more like day-to-day neutral lid colors, because this would be one of the ones I wear on a daily basis. I'm gonna take the same brush and I'm gonna go in with the shade Cupcake. This is a really pretty purple shade, and I'm gonna start packing that on to the outer side of my eye, going over where I put that matte shadow down. I also just threw on this little tiny eyeliner that I've had for like 7 years. I've honestly had this for like 7 years. This is my favorite purple eyeliner. It's Vice from Urban Decay. It's shimmering, that's why I like it. I feel like sometimes a dark shade can look too harsh, but this one has a little shimmer to it. I needed to do that before I finish the top of my eyeshadow, just because I just want to finish off the lower lash line first, and then I'll let you guys know what I'm doing. But I'm going back in with this warm brown to start off my lower lash line. I'm also going to add in the matte purple shade, mostly to the outer half of my lower lash line. If you're wondering about this brush, it's a Luxie brush. It's a Luxie mini flat angled. I think I got a couple of these, maybe an BoxyCharm or Ipsy. It is my favorite brush for my lower lash line, because it's just small enough and fluffy enough at the same time to actually like diffuse out your eyeshadow and not make it look like a straight little mark, like you just put like a pencil of eyeshadow. This is one of my faves for sure. And then I'm using half this palette today, so I can give you guys a look at how most of the shades work. I'm a little nervous that I'm gonna ruin my eyeshadow, and I'll tell you how I might do that. But first I wanna finish this off. I'm just gonna take a little flat brush. I'm gonna take the shade Barb. This is like a metallic, a little bit chunkier shade. I'm just gonna add that. I don't know if I like that. It's okay. I might wanna blend that out actually. Don't think I like it. Instead, I'm gonna use a shade Cupcake, and I'm just gonna put a little bit. There we go. I like that better. Totally better. Okay. I'm gonna use that just in the inner half of my eye. Okay, I kind of like my eyeshadow the way it is, but I do want to add blue, and I might ruin my eye look with the blue, or I might make it look awesome. But I already like what it looks like, so I'm a little nervous to add the blue. This is just a dry pencil brush from e.l.f. I'm gonna take the shade Leo, this bright blue, and maybe make my eyeshadow look better or worse. Let's see. I like this color combination. This right here is exactly what I was going for, that Trix yogurt swirl, cotton candy swirl. Do they still make Trix yogurt? I have no idea. I'm just doing this off of like a 20-year memory of dairy products. All right, so I'm taking another dry flat brush, and now we're gonna try Barb again. Watch me hate it again. I actually wore this shade with some glitter glue. It's not a pressed glitter, but it is a little bit of a chunkier shade. There we go. That's what I needed. Because I feel like that way, it really keeps that part of my eye more open. Adds a little bit more dimension. All right, so eyeshadow is done. I just threw on mascara. I really like this color combination. It makes me very happy. I really want to play with more like pinks and purples. Maybe I'll do like another look with this palette for Valentine's Day, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw on some eyelashes. I feel like I'll open my eyes back up since these shades are a little bit darker. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'll give you guys all of my final thoughts about the palette. All right, so overall I am very happy with all the looks that I can create with this palette. I think you can get a lot of everyday neutral looks, a lot of colorful looks obviously as well. This is one of those palettes where I don't need to reach into other palettes to get certain shades. I love that this is like very cohesive. It has every matte I need, every shimmer I need to do like purple looks, pink looks, blue looks, everything like that. I am very happy with this palette. I really like it. Like I said, of course I have all those other Anastasia palettes, but this is my favorite eyeshadow formula. So if I like the shades in our Anastasia palette, I'm probably gonna end up purchasing it. I definitely see myself using this palette year round and not getting bored with it, just like those other Anastasia palettes that I mentioned that I'm wearing all the time as well. I think this will look really great on a wide variety of complexions as well. I think that the shadows really show up, they pop, they're very pigmented. Like you guys saw with some of the matte transition shades, they really show up without having to like build them up or do too much. So I can do eye looks very quickly. I just really like this palette in general. I would say the one thing I would change would be the glitter shades. I almost could do without the glitters. I kind of wish they were just regular eyeshadows. I think this like goldish shade would be stunning as just a lid color. And because they do have two glitters in here, I do wish that they were different from each other. I mean, they are different, but they're similar enough. Like they're pretty similar. Like they're both kind of in the gold family. One's a little bit more pink, one's more bronzy. And then this shade Barb, I wish was not as chunky. I think it would look really pretty if it was more of a metallic shade. This is a shade that I've tried with glitter glue to get to really pop. But I just wish it was a little bit more of a pressed shadow and not more of a flaky shadow. Overall, really like all the shades in here. I'm happy with it. I recommend it if you guys are interested in it. You'll see a lot more tutorials with this palette on my Instagram, maybe on here as well. I'll do a get ready with me. I'm planning on doing maybe like a Valentine's Day-esque look with those shades in here, with some of the pink shades in here. I think this could be a Valentine's Day look if you just get rid of the blue. Could be kind of like a pinker look too, but I am very happy with this palette. Like, I'm excited and pumped to keep doing like colorful looks with this palette. This is one of those palettes that I'm like inspired by, I'm excited about, and I'm not like, okay, what's next? Like, I'm excited to use everything in here, and I think it's a very cohesive palette, but it's also not something that's like a one-hit wonder with like one colorful look. You can do like everyday looks with this palette all the time. So overall, you guys can tell I'm really happy with it. Even though I have all these other palettes, I still really recommend this one. I do like, if you want something colorful from Anastasia, I don't have the Alyssa Edwards palette. I thought that one was like too much color for me. But I do recommend this over the Riviera palette just because this is like another palette that's like a little too colorful for me, where I'm a little kind of overwhelmed by it, where if you just want to start playing and incorporating more color, I think this is a great start because you still have a bunch of neutrals, but you have those pops of colors that really stand out and could do obviously something very colorful. But you can work it in different ways. So definitely overall, I am very happy with this palette, with this collab. I think it's awesome. Check it out if you guys are interested. I don't think you'll regret it. Let me know if you did purchase this palette in the comments below. Let me know what you guys are liking right now in the comments below as well. But that's going to be everything for today's video. If you liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.